A fresh chapter unfolds on a bright, sunny morning. In the city of Gunjo, Tenma resides. The boy practices nearby. The structure housing the dining area is fully equipped. Tenma Otori, 15 years old, is determined to do everything necessary to grow stronger. He is the heir of a wise one, a dragon conqueror, a top-tier adventurer honored by the deities. The man, clutching a bouquet of flowers, claims that he perceives. The boy has been brimming with energy since the morning. Tenma greeted him with a good morning, and the man reminded him about breakfast. He will be in the dining room waiting for the boy. On the table there's a refreshing drink, a plate of salad, rolls, and the main dish is scrambled eggs with bacon. After preparing a hamburger topped with bacon and egg, he wished everyone a good appetite. Admiring his dish, he is poised to devour the food with insatiable hunger. The woman glances at Tenma, remarking on his peculiar eating habits, as he takes one bite after another. The young man, cheek-stuffed, responds that it is quite delicious. After bidding farewell to Namataro, Tenma explored various towns and villages. He is now residing at a hotel in Guns. He appreciated the residence and the landscape. The man taking in the vacant plate on the table indicates to the young man that he rose earlier than normal today. He feels anxious, fearing something might be wrong. Tenma, devouring his hamburger, responds that he has chosen to seek membership in the guild. The man paused upon hearing the response. He inquired why the boy made this decision now. Tenma replies that he had much to contemplate. The man ponders this. If the young man would accept the tasks right away. After completing his breakfast, he mentioned he would consider it if he discovered something fitting, expressing gratitude for the meal. He contacted Slaylin and Saramura. The reason Tenma chose to joining the guild is quite easy. He aims to grow stronger and safeguard his friends and family. Saramura is his mounted companion. This surprises many onlookers. Upon reaching the guild headquarters in Gunjo, the boy requests that his pet stay nearby the building as he continues. He conducts his business. A few strangers approached him, expressing admiration for Saramura. Upon entering the guild building, he lets the children pet his animal. Tenma encountered his friends, who were rousing him by a tree. First Nilly, then from left to right. Lily and Nelly discovered that their friend was set to join the guild. They promptly suggested completing tasks together and extended an invitation for him to join there. The boy, inundated with inquiries, reminded the team that the girl consistently declines quests. However, she is willing to accept a task if it aligns with her interests. These girls are C-rank adventurers. The sisters are named Nico. They grew close to Tenma while traveling to the city after rescuing them from an assault by two ogres. They were quite astonished when Tenma, holding a temporary registration, managed to handle B-rank monsters. A statement was given to the man. He was instructed to fill out this form with all the information required for a speech to the guild, including his name, age, magical abilities, and family details, criminal records, and similar items. The boy opted not to include any notably strong techniques in the form. He received a guild card and was cautioned to keep it safe. If the card were lost, a fee would be required for a replacement. Tenma expressed gratitude to the girl and accepted the card, examining it closely. He realized he was instantly assigned a D rank. Sisters Millie, Lily, and Nellie pounced on him upon discovering that a friend began with this position. They are genuinely thrilled for him. The young man was taken aback, as he only possesses a temporary registration. By the guidelines, he was supposed to begin at the E rank. The girl clarified that Tenma could effortlessly handle creatures of C rank and above. The administration opted to give the guy a D rank. Lily takes his hand, encouraging the boy to proceed and obtain the task for. They are urged to act quickly. The girl is addressed directly, being told she should become part of their team. They are puzzled about the necessity of a newcomer. The opposing team claims that Tenma is significantly weaker than they are, asserting that it poses a risk to continually support a beginner. Millie, Lily, and Nellie, wearing an indifferent expression, declines their proposal. This isn't the first occasion they've been invited to join a different team. One member from the other group advises Lily to reconsider. He questions why they would want to bring along a weak newcomer. He serves no purpose. Saramaru growls in annoyance, reacting to the unpleasant remarks about the owner. The same individual claims that Tenma allied with the girls for financial gain. The boy resembles a parasite. The young man is somewhat taken aback by this portrayal of himself. Lily, Millie, and Nellie dismiss the nonsense from a few fools, urging Tenma to ignore such unpleasant remarks. One of the sisters proposed a new challenge: to eliminate the fierce hogs, a quest of lower rank. The assignment involves retrieving the bodies of fierce hogs. The boy contemplated these creatures. In simple terms, fierce hogs resemble enormous boars. Nellie mentioned that they severely damage the fields, leading to significant agricultural harm. Given that Tenma has hunted these creatures multiple times, the task appears fitting. The Nico sisters consent to this if the guy agrees as well. They departed from the guild. Now Slaylin and Saramaru will join them. With the choice finalized, it's time to gather their things. The young man chose to take a magic potion and, just in case, an antidote. The girls gather supplies such as water and some snacks. They also inquired if they had cookies. Overlooked anything more. The young man, taken aback by the items the sisters are gathering for the job, suggests it would be good to bring along a rope and a towel. The girls all agree they are hungry. One of the sisters suggested dining at the diner. The guy follows them along with others. After sampling various street foods, they start to bid farewell until the following day. As planned, as they departed, the girls expressed their gratitude to Tenma for accompanying them. They urged him to take care on his return. The weary man makes his way back to the hotel, walking alone through the deserted streets. It's silent outside. Just around a corner, he encounters the same team that deemed him a liability. They mention the boy's tardiness. They had waited until he found himself by himself. The young man inquired what they desired from him, though he had observed them earlier. One of the cocky individuals remarked that the discussion would be straightforward. He instructs Tenma to simply hand over those 3 girls. They argue that it's premature for a boy to be concerned about such matters. Tenma points out that they had already faced rejection. The guys remain unfazed. They intend to alter their perspective. As the tall guy remarked, these kiddies merely require the right approach. Disciplined. The lower brute found this amusing. The young man dislikes such discussions. The guys continue to assert that the girls must be punished and they will learn to comply. Once they grow weary, they will allow the guy to engage with the kiddies. But for now they must pause. The boy remains unresponsive to these bold remarks. Harnessing his powers, Tenma swiftly drew near the brazen man held his fist up to his nose. The grin on his face vanished, replaced by a chill of sweat and fear from such an amateurish move. It ceased to be amusing. In an instant, I gripped his fist, causing the arrogant man to recoil. Tenma instructed him to restate his earlier words. He seemed poised to respond, in a quivering tone. Seizing this brave individual, drenched in cold sweat from terror by the collar, the young man requests him to share him what he planned to do with his friends. Sniffling and drooling in anticipation of the rookie's impending actions, the brazen individual merely stays quiet and gazes into Tenma's eyes. Once he executed his plan, the boy understood that he had gone a bit too far. Those guys truly annoyed him. Following that, the 3 of them did not stop bothering the guy. At sunrise, the Nico sisters greet the boy with a good morning. They express regret for their tardiness. Nellie grumbles that Lily and Millie were kept awake all night, causing them to oversleep. Lily counters that it was the opposite, but the guy is not interested in hearing this, and reminds me that it's time to leave. Nellie inquires about the distance to the village they are going to. Millie replies that if they're leaving now and should arrive by evening. Tenma halted them by pulling something from his bag. He wants to share something with them, The sisters are quite intrigued. He revealed an entire cart from his bag. All three girls were taken aback, curious about the origin of the situation. The boy chuckles and says sorry for startling them. He clarifies that he possesses a spatial bag. Contains a spell that alters space. Thus, nearly anything can be contained within it. Slaylin and Saramaru showed up. They enjoy entering it as well. Millie, Lily, and Nellie believed the young man did not take pets alongside him. Lily glanced at Cyro, inquiring if he could pull the cart. The girl was mistaken. A sound resonated in Otenma's bag, revealed a large cube, which he claimed they would utilize. The sisters were intrigued about its purpose. With a raised hand, the young man cast his spell. He commanded the golem to awaken. The enchanted cube started to rattle and break apart. Rather than a living golem horse emerged as a geometric figure. The girls were astonished by this creature's appearance, having never encountered him previously. The sisters were truly amazed. Despite the golem's ability to move, Slaylin leaps toward the creature. The man clarifies that Slaylin is controlling the golem's movements. Lily is excited that the being resembles a genuine horse. Nellie is quite curious about the name Tenma gave it. It's a synthetic being. The young man called it Tanakazi. They intend to use it to reach the village. This marks the start of the journey with the Nico sisters. Lily exclaims that they are nearing the village. The sisters are taken aback since they got there much sooner than expected. The girls inquired of Tenma about Tanakazi's relocation. The young man struggles to articulate this clearly. To the girls, in reality, Tanakazi possesses an embedded magic core from a monster, specifically a dragon, which the guy vanquished that day. Amidst the chaos, Slaylin succeeded in grabbing a fragment of the magic core. The young man was taken by surprise. It's no wonder that the golem, formed solely from dirt and stones, possesses such strength due to this core. The Nico sisters request you to share this secret with them. Naturally, if anyone discovers this, they will undoubtedly be quite astonished. The boy decided that remaining silent was the wisest choice. He prefers to avoid any trouble. Tenma mentions they are nearing the customer's residence. They are greeted by an older gentleman who expresses gratitude to the team for accepting his request. The headman's name is Banza. Approximately a week ago, a group of aggressive hogs started destroying his crops. Each night, they stomp through the fields and consume the vegetables. The maid served the tea and had already began to serve it to the man, but inadvertently tipped the cup, causing it to crash to the ground. The village chief curses at his assistant as she quickly apologizes and rushes away. Out of the room, the boy grew curious about the maid's actions. After the girl exited the headman's chamber, Tenma asked Banza to reveal the damaged beds. A man points out a field that has suffered damage. Some vegetables remain untouched, leading Banza to believe that the fierce hogs will appear that night. The boy requested to explore the area. The headman granted permission and is preparing to head back to the office. He clarified the location of the teen. Tenma responded that they would establish their camp here and stay overnight. The headman mentioned he was relying on them. As Banza departed, the boy scrutinized his outline intently. He sensed that something was amiss and observed the man closely. The girl caught her friend's attention, gesturing toward the signs of the fierce hogs. There were additional tracks, and they were significantly larger than anticipated. The Nico sisters admit they certainly couldn't manage the fierce creatures in threesomes. They appreciate Tenma accompanying them. The young man inspects the paths of the hogs. Millie glanced at the boy, who proposed altering their plans slightly. The girls were confused by his suggestion. In the next instant, the girl chuckles and, with a grin, suggests that the young man could simply ignite them with a snap of his fingers. He ponders this while glancing at his sisters. In silence, they are concerned about their friend's actions. The girls ask Tenma what their next steps will be. Initially, the young man intends to craft several additional golems. Millie assumed he aimed to produce beings similar to Tanakaze, but no. He extends his hand, requesting one of the Nico sisters' hairs. The girls both flinched, feeling embarrassed. Nellie remarks that it's quite surprising, while Lily consents to whatever he asks. Millie wishes the hair won't be employed for odd uses. He reiterated his intention to make golems. The sisters felt disheartened as they anticipated a different outcome. The boy tossed 3 pieces of the dragon core skyward and blew 3 strands into the wind, addressing those nearby. Summoned by his magic to heed his summons, the young man crafted golems once more. Their wagon rests beside the campsite, while the 4 gather around the campfire, enjoying their meal together. The wood pops and snaps. Tenma, completing her meal, informs the girls that it's time and inquires if they're prepared. It's evident that the sisters feel anxious about rising after a satisfying dinner. The boy claims they are following the plan. The girls replied simultaneously. It was a starry night at the headman's residence. The guy addressed the man, stating that the adventurers have already departed to navigate around the fields. The headman grasped what his subordinate meant. There are some unusual sounds emanate from him. The man insists it's time to leave and document everything. The headman no longer resembles an old man. His look is akin to that of a feral creature. As they consented, the man can be removed while the women are captured. The subordinate refers to the man as the headman, indicating his comprehension. The leader inquired of me to refrain from using that name. The team observes the individuals on the ground beside the card in the shadows. They are likely anticipating the creatures. The man notifies his companion that 2 individuals are outside. It's probable that the others are still waiting in the wagon. He refers to them as fools for believing they are hunting fierce hogs. The men are unaware that they are currently being pursued. The man reminds his team that the individual can be disposed of. The man responds that the girls must be captured unharmed. With a wicked grin, he states that female animal-like beings are highly valued in the black market. It's time to hunt, and they have advanced. Individuals approached from behind the girl. Only 3 were present. One of them seized the girl to silence her, while another held onto her firmly. The other came up to Tenma unexpectedly from behind and delivered a devastating blow to his chest with a sword. This audacious individual was already relieved to have removed the primary issue. However, that relief quickly turned into a significant misunderstanding. The boy faced him, brandishing a blade that he dove into his back. The man questioned what was up with this individual. In an instant, the young man struck the insolent man, sending him flying several meters with a crash and a whistle. The first one holding the girl turned at the sound to inquire about the commotion. Lily abruptly seized the man's arm as he was bewildered. The girl effortlessly tossed him over her. He barely had a moment to comprehend anything before he was already soaring off to the side. Another accomplice yelled that there was no one in the cart at all. The partner questioned his friend once more since he hadn't caught the words. The accomplice intended to restate his shocking message to his partners, but an arrow struck his shoulder. The 3 girls' sisters were positioned behind them and mocked the villains, agreeing with Tenma. They were following the scheme. A young man and 3 sisters came under attack. The young man inquires, merely to provide 1 strand each due to the situation. The girls, perplexed by the reasoning, consented solely out of obligation. The boy tossed 3 pieces of the dragon core ascended, releasing 3 strands into the atmosphere. He summons those who share his magical lineage to heed his call. This time, the young man fashioned golems inspired by the magic stone, earth, and the girl's hair. They are created by replicating the data found within the hair. In other words, the boy clarifies he will replicate not just the fundamental attributes of the sisters but also their looks, body dimensions, and characteristics. The girls' silhouettes emerge from the ground. Millie and Nellie is shocked by the sight before them. Lily, too, is filled with feelings. As he turns, the young man sees clearly. Copies of the girls formed from the earth left him in shock, causing him to choke. They looked exactly alike, but the earthen versions were unclothed. The genuine sisters began growling at the boy who had forgotten. regard to his attire. He kneels, expressing remorse to his partners. They reprimand him, understanding that this stems from his age. However, they request he handle it with more sensitivity. He, still on his knees, genuinely apologizes for his actions. Millie's earthen golem remains beside them. A bow, drawing the string back to launch another arrow at the defiant man. The being, letting the arrow fly, precisely strikes the neck of one adversary. They are powerless against the speed. Nellie's golem swiftly overtakes one of the boss's lackeys at lightning speed, brandishing a katana. A fierce duel ensues between them. Meanwhile, a version of Lily she dashed from behind the man. He realized her presence too late, as he was shoved aside with a single foot. The golem sent him tumbling to the ground on his back. Real girls, witnessing this, are astonished. Since the golems mimic their actions perfectly, Nellie is excited. Lily mentions that they replicate not just fundamental abilities but also skill combinations. As she turns, Nellie is puzzled by the sight of a distant Tenma duplicate. With a blade embedded in his back, he grips one of the bandits by the collar, exuding an intimidating presence. Both Lily and Nellie feel a mix of shock and fear, as Tenma's replica has taken care of many of the attackers. Only Millie finds it impressive. The boss remains in place. The moons glow, recognizing that utter stillness has settled in the beds. He believes it's over there. He instructs his subordinate, concealed in the shadows, to investigate the matter and inform him. The man suggests he will handle it personally for the boss. This insubordination frustrates him. As he turned to reprimand the individual for his words, he realized it wasn't his subordinate, but Tenma standing there instead. He was at a loss for words, puzzled by the boy's presence. The man inquired about the fools who likely lost. The boy questioned whom he referred to, continuing his dialogue. Tenma states that the subordinates masquerading as villagers are. Position was directly at the boss's feet. The boy inquired of the audacious thief regarding the whereabouts of the actual inhabitants and what actions he had taken against them. The long-haired man refuses to acknowledge the young man's information, thinking the kid is mocking him. He doubts that the young man could have taken them all down by himself. After delivering a punch to the gut, the young man reiterates his question, stating that he understood right away that the men in this village were not genuine villagers, including the headman. A village lacking men would appear dubious to visiting adventurers. The boy believes this is why the scoundrel compelled his subordinates to switch outfits. The outlaw seized only young females. The man, positioned on the ground, hunched over in agony, initially does not respond to the boy's inquiry, instead resorting to mockery. He subtly draws a dagger from its sheath on his back, stating that since the young man has observed and deduced so much, he ought to also be aware of the fate of the true inhabitants. Suddenly brandishing his dagger, the rogue is preparing to stab the boy. He eliminated the residents and is indifferent to it. The young man, without a single muscle twitching on his back, remained unaffected. A response to his inquiry. He is aware of their fate, yet he held on to hope. The man yearned to attack. The blade was stained with crimson fluid, but the hand was absent, lying on the ground close by. The boy managed to. Severed limb was taken off with just his hand. No cold weapon was necessary. The boss cries out in agony, coming to terms with the loss of part of his limb. The young man remarks that there's no need to panic over just one hand being severed. The man collapses, bleeding heavily. Tenla does not provide any hope that the brazen man will escape with merely that. He inquires about how many individuals the guy disposed of, yet complains about his aching arm. With a fierce gaze, Tenla demands to know the next body part that should be severed. He offers a choice, right hand or left foot. The boy inquires if it's worth dismembering him for the numerous lives he has taken. The leader of the perilous gang, weeping, sheds tears and, drooling, he lifted his head to meet the boy's gaze. He wished to intervene, but the guy ignored him. The entire team was restrained. One by one they were collected and brought together. The girls are curious about Tenla's intentions. The plan is straightforward. They will head back to the city and deliver them to the guild, which will manage the situation concerning the village women who had been captured. Hostage. Therefore, the group will require additional wagons and has chosen to utilize the bandits' vehicles. The girls request their preparation. Several carts are coming back to the city, transported by Tanakazi golems composed of earth and stones. Nellie inquires of the boy about when the young man understood that the task was a snare. He responded that it likely occurred when he noticed the signs of aggressive boars. He quickly understood that they were not genuine. In reality, he merely observed the traits of the men present in the village upon their arrival. The young man chose to remain quiet. The guild structure in Genjo City. The team came back, ensuring all the bandits face justice. A voice calls out to the boy. Flut, the guild's deputy head, rushes over to check if the squad is safe and everything is fine. She learned that the team faced an attack during the mission. Tenla mentioned she would share the specifics of the event. The followers of Banza are a notorious criminal organization, with a substantial bounty on their heads. Flut expressed disbelief that this group had managed to seize an entire village and was concealed within it. The guild's deputy leader bows to Tenla, admitting their mistake. They acknowledge insufficient investigations have been conducted. The girl expresses regret for involving the team in the situation. A voice calls out to the boy, referring to him as the one who confronted the gang. This person insists that the young man come over at once. The young man walks toward the tall figures, pretending to be Tenla, the leader responsible for the incident. The man questions what he means and reminds. The young man believes that spreading a false report constitutes a serious offense. Even when a child, with a cunning look, claims otherwise, the boy asserts that this is the truth. With the combined strength of all four individuals, the man yells at him to stop joking. He questions the credibility of such a small group. Comprising a child and 3 girls, they have the ability to neutralize the Banza group, which they had been unable to track for an extended period. Someone is inquiring about this tall individual. The man should cease his disgraceful actions. They appeared to stiffen at the sound of a voice. The squad leader, a girl from the night shift, arrived and informed them that men's conduct lacks chivalry and warrants shame. Upon arriving in the city, Tenla promptly informed Mrs. Plutt about the dismantling of the Banza criminal organization listed on the state's wanted roster. Following this, the guild reached out. The knight's decree, and the boy would receive a financial reward. The moment he encountered the knights who had come for. Upon inspection, they chose to ridicule the young man, doubting that a child could handle such a responsibility. Tenla finds this unjust. The commander yelled for the knights to cease, drenched in sweat. Those who had mocked quickly bowed and offered apologies. The Nico sisters regarded the girl with curiosity. As night fell, the woman told the man that her subordinates were being extremely disrespectful. He felt relieved that at least one reasonable person had arrived. She introduced herself to the boy. She is named Primera Vansanga. The girl leads the knightly order of the City of Firearms. The boy extended his hand for a handshake and identified himself as Tenma, an explorer. He suggested resuming business to transfer the apprehended bandits to the knights. Moving closer to the young man, Sangha scrutinizes him, noting that he managed to handle this unfortunate group. After a thorough inspection, she remarks that appearances can be deceiving. The young man believed he appeared feeble. He inquired about her statement, but a noise came from his spatial bag. Saramaru emerged, who desired to taste and savor Vansanga's illustration. No one anticipated Fenrir's arrival. The leader of the Knight's Order was taken aback by what she witnessed. A massive dog was emerging from the bag. Tenma swears and commands it to return, but Shiro is reluctant. The whole Knight squad stands there, mouths agape in astonishment. They remain quiet, as though they've lost their voices. The boy, petting his animal, presents it to the group. Saramaru is eager, having felt quite dull. Displaying the collar, Tenma shares that it belongs to a pet Fenrir. Signs of his domestication are visible on his neck. Prime Raven's words remain unspoken, yet he believes the child managed to tame the orang creature. The young man approached and remarked that Saramaru is quite affectionate and is completely safe for people. He encouraged the girl to touch him. The night girl's followers yell that it's perilous, believing this is an effort to provoking the commander against the beast. Tenma gently pets the creature's fur, remarking on Shiro's softness, which captivates attention. Hypnotically drawn, she extends her hand to feel Fenrir's fur. She nearly gives in to temptation right before her, but then she regains her composure. Behind her, the guys appear disheartened by the situation. She cleared her throat and stated that the confirmation of details, along with the handover of criminals to them, has concluded. The reward will be issued once the guild delivers it. This process may require several days to complete. The dog feels let down due to the lack of playtime. The commander mentioned they would return. The squad departs swiftly. It seems the girl feels awkward afterward. Vaughn Sang reflects on Fenrir's gentle nature and the words associated with it. Tenma, watching over him, recognized the commander's vulnerability. The boy is inside the guild building. He received a new adventure card. Tenma's rank is now S. Mrs. Flut praises the boy for his advancement. The girl informed the guild's leadership about the successful capture of Banza. As anticipated, they consented to a rank elevation. Essentially, the officials could have advanced the young man to a higher rank. Tenma graciously accepts the promotion. The boy was approximately, as he departed, facing the exit. He inadvertently spotted a unique mission on the board. Grabbing the task sheet, he mentions a request. A request has been made to eradicate the winged creatures known as stone birds. Their feathers are as durable as rock, and their wingspan surpasses 3 meters. They employ advanced levitation magic, making the mission particularly challenging. The boy observed that the payment amount was not mentioned in the request. Flut held him back slightly, indicating that this wasn't entirely accurate. The young man must eliminate multiple individuals, foolishly expecting a positive outcome. Tenma believed that 2 birds had to be taken down. Mrs. Flut let him down by stating that the boy was a bit off. Birds travel in groups. Tenma was shocked by what he learned. The girl mentioned that, luckily because of the birds, reside in mountains far from human habitation, they experienced no harm from them. Nevertheless, the guild cannot leave matters unchanged. The size of the reward is contingent upon the quantity of monsters were defeated. It would be ideal if the team retrieved the gathered resources. Flut hopes Tenma will handle the situation if he has the time. The boy grasped the mistress's request and agreed to assist. He journeyed to the mountains where the stone beings reside. The young man reached the mountains riding Tenma. People. Turning back in confusion, he glanced at Tenma. The mountains loomed ahead, formed by the rocks. The wind whistled through the air. Tenakazi realized he couldn't proceed any longer. Therefore, the boy intended to place it in a spatial bag. With his hand on the earth, Tenma seeks out the creatures he requires. He employs magic for this task, navigating through the leaves of trees, branches, and shrubs, as well as over stones and a ravine. The young man senses the arrival of birds. A significant number are present. The boy observes the airborne group, gauging their rough distance to them. In approximately 200 meters, the young man will arrive. As he neared, Tenma paused for the birds to settle on the surface. One of the stone birds spotted the foe, which she alerted to the others. The young man exuded confidence in himself. Observing the creatures from his hiding spot, he formed a pistol with his right hand. He launched the air projectile. One after another, the birds plummeted. Tenma struck the target and considered aiming for the head. The air projectile merely created holes in the stone birds. The young man understood he was overcoming monsters with ease. Humming a tune, Tenma. He leaps, gathering resources. He chose to proceed at a leisurely pace. While he swiftly finished the job, a few individuals lurked behind a shelter, likely anticipating the boy's confrontation with the creatures. Facing the spoils, Tenma remarks on his successful hunt. Before him lay a heap of stone creature remains. Of his feet, sturdy wings can be traded as resources for crafting weapons and armor. Fortunately, the young man managed to collect several eggs. Additionally, these birds provide tasty meat. For dinner, he chose to prepare a version of oyakudon inspired by this world. Oyakudon is a classic Japanese meal. Tenma was. Someone praised him. A group of men approached him. One observed that the young man had gathered numerous resources from the stone creatures. He kept discussing it, believing the boy would struggle to carry all the resources and proposed to share, adopting an air of pride and superiority. The man instructed to place all the treasure here, but Tenma is indifferent. The boy imagines preparing egg sandwiches with chicken cutlet for breakfast. This action enraged the man, who was smiling with fury. He glanced at Tenma, approaching from behind. The frantic brute seized the boy by the shoulder. The boy, reflecting on it, recalled that he hadn't prepared sukiyaki with bird meat in quite a while. Sukiyaki is a traditional Japanese dish from the Naimono dishes category. As Tenma dances joyfully, the would-be robbers can be seen behind him, securely bound. On the forehead of one lay a note stating they were thieves punished by a man they intended to rob. Tenma made his way back to the guild in Gunju City. They presented him with a bag of money, commending him for his excellent effort. It was his compensation. The boy's jaw dropped in astonishment. He believed it was excessive, but Mr. Flut mentioned that the total encompasses the reward from the previous occasion. During their conversation, Prime Revan performed Enter the Room with her night squad, and Tenma identified it. Her and welcomed her. The girl expressed gratitude for the task completed by the boy previously. Flut mentioned that Mrs. Primer had arrived to present a reward to the young man. Tenma now comprehended the situation. The doors. The guild building burst open with a shout, prompting Tenma and Prime Re to turn for the commotion. These were the thieves that the young man had previously restrained. As he was collecting his supplies, the gang leader questions the boy if he truly believed he could handle them until the end. This arrogant individual yells at the guild personnel that Tenma took their raw materials, which they obtained from the wreckage of stone birds. Flut goes along with it. The young man, taken aback, wishes she is doing this intentionally. However, the girl held him back, stating that this frequently occurs. Addressing the trio of troublemakers, she inquires how they managed to conquer the avian beasts. Placing his hand over his heart, the gang leader falsely claims he achieved it with a bow. Eager to resolve the matter swiftly, he urges the staff member to provide them with their reward. Mrs. Flut states that there were no puncture wounds discovered on the stone birds' bodies. She requests the miscreants to showcase the magical trick they used to shoot at the birds, emphasizing the tension of the situation, in which the man is evidently at a disadvantage. He questions why he is under suspicion. The burglar claims his lineage is from a reputable family, and they have connections with none other than Prince Ravensong. She overheard this. Positioned with her group behind the liar, she faced him. The arrogant man inquired about her identity. Tenma recalled that she was a Sangha. Tension in the room escalated. Her expression turned serious. She informed the thief that her name was Prime Ravensong. She is the third daughter of the prince that the guy just referred to. The entire group, eager to exploit wealth, stood in shock, jaws dropped, and astonished. They found themselves in the most dire predicament. The brazen man inquires, genuinely believing that an attempt to fabricate his lineage and referencing her father's name would allow him to escape consequences. The night squad commander instructed his team to remove him. The girl is heard and followed by her. The shameless deceivers attempted to justify themselves, but they were swiftly hushed. The girl went to Tenma and expressed regret for the confusion. She assured him that her people would handle the situation. The boy replied that all was well. The commander provided significant assistance. Suramar emerged from the young man's spatial bag. He caught a whiff of the girl he encountered previously. Her eyes sparkled, radiating joy. The boy beamed as the commander quietly observed Fluffy. She extended her hand toward him, recalling the description of Fenrir's gentle fur. She yearned to feel it, nearly brushing against the pet's nose. One of the subordinates bursts into the structure, declaring that it's time to head back. Any further delay will interfere with upcoming arrangements. She recoiled in fear. She expressed her apologies, swiftly turned, and hurried back to her team. The boy thanked her once more, observing her departure. Tenma believes that the title of Commander of the Knight's Order is quite impressive. Meanwhile, Primeravansanga feels disappointed for missing the chance to pet Suramera. Tenma gazes at her with a weary, concerned expression, and declares that he has finally succeeded. Sweaty from effort, he states that for the first time since his rebirth in this world, he accomplished it. The boy prepared pudding. It was challenging without a refrigerator, yet he found a way to manage. This is a guy who perfected the art of freezing to create pudding. As the young man savored his dish, the hotel hostess arrived. She noticed he had prepared something with eggs and remarked that it was quite unusual. Tenma proposed they give it a shot. He still possesses many eggs from the stone birds. A man and a woman observe at the pudding in astonishment, puzzled by its nature. The woman opted to sample a piece. The boy believed he could now make donuts and pancakes. The man chuckled, remarking that his wife would gain weight once more. The hostess savored the dessert. Tenma recalled that he was also capable of making pancakes, and the husband stands with a bruise on his head from his remarks. The young man arrived at the guild building. An employee welcomed him. The boy was there for a task. Before accepting a new job, the young man mentions that he brought the staff something inside a bag. They expressed their surprise. Tenma prepared an excess amount, so he chose to share with the staff. Peering into the bag, they inquire about its contents. The delightful item the young man provided is known as a donut. The girls respond. They had never experienced anything similar. They chose to host a tea party. Tenma felt pleased that they enjoyed it. He believed he should offer them something more. As he neared the task board, the boy noticed an assignment to take out several individuals of crocodile sharks. Similar to before, the reward is based on the quantity of monsters eliminated. He enjoys this type of task. After some contemplation, he turned to exit the building. Given that these are water creatures, preparation is essential. He opted to go shopping for supplies. As he stepped out, the boy sensed a sharp gaze on his back. He could feel 3 individuals behind him. It was Millie, Lily, and Nellie, upset that their friend hadn't shared the donuts. The young man had entirely overlooked it. The girls were quite distressed. Consequently, Tenma spent the entire day preparing treats. He reflected on how sweets and women should never be taken lightly. The following day, the young man reached the habitat of crocodile sharks. This habitat is a lake. Surumaru accompanied him. While standing on the bank, Tenma used his magic to probe the water for monsters. After some time, he identified the target. Uncovered, it was a formidable water-dwelling beast, posing significant risks to humans. After a while, all essentials were prepared. A robust chain and a strong hook. As a gain, Tenma secured the flesh of a stone bird. In that moment, the young man pondered. Would the monsters be tempted by this bait? Nonetheless, he pressed on, as he had no plans to stop. To avoid leaving empty-handed, the boy playfully confronts the lake's owner. The straw hat adds to the persona. While Surumaru is engaged in play nearby, Tenma ceased his antics and started his work. He cast the hook into the water. His synthetic fishing rod started to shake. The crocodile shark seized the bait and drags the line down. The boy senses that the creature is rather determined and optimistic that all would turn out favorably. He tightened his grip on the chain and unleashed magic. A shock wave surged through its entire length. In a series of events, a crocodile shark surfaced. One is prepared, yet the young man senses In the distance, he noticed the shapes of another creature. The young man believed the monster had escaped when he realized how he had triumphed over it. His sibling. He aimed to locate it through exploration. Abruptly, the boy felt a sense of dread and glanced at Surumaru, who was consuming a fish he had caught. A crocodile shark leaped from the water, aiming to snatch an unsuspecting dog. Tenma was genuinely terrified as the creature was so nearby. He shouts for Shiro, but danger is imminent. The young man intended to trigger the air dissection when Fenrir suddenly gritted his teeth around the fish and started to growl. The mouth was directly in front of the creature's snout. Just then, Surumaru appeared. He lifted his massive paw and honed his claws. With a single swing, Fenrir effortlessly sliced the wretched crocodile shark in two. Surumaru appears fierce and merciless. The boy lacked the time to respond and activate his magic quickly. Then, unexpectedly, the creature disintegrated into fragments. Observing Surumaru, he notices the creature grinning and growling while still gripping the fish. It became clear that Fenrir was protecting himself due to the catch he had secured. At that moment, a massive carcass of a water creature crashed down onto Shiro. Startled, Fenrir dropped his fish as the prey thrashed around close by. The young man dashed forward to rescue his pet. After finishing his assignment, Tenma returned to the city. Onlookers noticed that both the child and the white dog were stained with blood from head to toe. He breathed out, mentioning he needed to get back to the hotel sooner than expected. He must tidy up Surumaru. As the boy enters the guild building, a voice from behind calls out to the young man in a quivering voice. Tenma glanced toward the source. It was Von Sang, staring at the young man in Fenrir with fear. She feared something had befallen them. Tenma inquired with a smile what had occurred. The girl is handling this, but she mentioned that she ought to be the one inquiring about it. She learned that someone had spotted a boy and a creature in the city, drenched in blood from head to toe. The young man was enveloped in sweat, understanding that he had been reported. He informed the commander of the Knight's Order that the mission had encountered some issues, but fortunately, no one was harmed and all was well. The girl observed that Surumaru's white coat was stained with blood. Fenrir stood holding a fish skeleton in his mouth, gently stroking his pet. Tenma tells him he intended to wash Shiro at the hotel. He could use a bath too. After saying this, she moved closer to him, requesting assistance. The young man was feeling embarrassed by the situation. He misinterpreted her intentions. She suggested assisting with Surumaru's laundry while they were at the hotel. Tenma expressed regret for compelling the commander of the Knight Order to handle such menial tasks. The girl, clad in boy's attire, eagerly responds that her responsibility is to address problems concerning reports, using a brush. She aims to transform Surumaru's fur into fluffy and pure white once more. Yet, she still desires to pet him. The boy, holding a bucket of water, observes the instance, viewing it as pleasant, even though the service is labor-intensive. To cleanse the creature, Tenma drenched the Shiro with a bucket of water. It immediately started to shake off the wetness. Primra and Tenma were taken by surprise. They got splashed with water. They enjoyed themselves immensely. They had a delightful experience. After a while in the bathroom, the young man emerges, feeling that he had occupied the girl's time excessively. He never imagined that Lady Primra would assist him in tidying up Surumaru. The boy feels the need to express his gratitude. Next time, he plans to bake donuts for her. From the side of his vision, the young man spotted something. In the living room, Tenma observed the commander of the Knight Order of Primra, Von Sang, playing with Shiro, relishing Fenrir's fluffiness. Hotel. The boy is relaxing following a tough day. The man, assuming Tenma is awake, exclaims that a visitor has arrived. The young man is quite irritated by this behavior of rousing him in the morning. Awakening, the man is perched in bed. Sunlight envelopes him. He is unsure of who requires his presence so soon. A man approached him from the stairs and remarked that one would never guess he was such a heartthrob among girls. Pointing at the visitor, The man remarked that he could never have imagined the boy winning the affection of such a lovely girl. The commander of the Night Order of Primravan had arrived at the hotel for the young man. She was anticipating his arrival. He welcomed her. The girl appeared taken aback. Primra expressed her apologies if she had disturbed his rest. But the boy reassured her that it was all fine. Was okay. He suspected something had occurred, but it hadn't. I genuinely wanted to inquire about something. Gazing into her eyes and resting her hand on her chest, the girl requests to see her father. The boy felt a flush of embarrassment at her words, while the hotel owners anticipated something intriguing upon learning about the parental meeting. A heavy silence enveloped the group, making the atmosphere quite uncomfortable. Tenma's expression indicated his desire to clarify her request. I realized she had misspoken. She understood the entire scenario and turned red. Stammering, the girl shouted that she hadn't intended that at all. That wasn't what everyone believed. An instance guided Tenmu to a towering structure, so immense that the boy could only see the roof. By completely lifting his head, surveying the room, the young man determines that this is a vast mansion suitable for an aristocratic family. A voice pulled the boy from his musings. A dark figure on the stairs was drawing closer. The young man inquired about their identity. Step by step, a man greets him, introducing himself as Arsis von Sange, the father of examples. The boy, identifying himself as Tenma, an adventurer, expresses that meeting him is a significant honor. However, the young man remains skeptical of his words. The guy is taken aback by how striking and regal the father of the examples appears. Arsis expresses regret for waking the boy at such an early time. Tenma remarks that the man seems so youthful that he has already confused him with Mrs. Primera's elder sibling. My father chuckles, noting he is nearly 50. His friends started to think he might be an elf. The man remains in disbelief. Arsis began discussing his daughter, expressing concern that during the boy's visit, she might have said something unnecessary that could create misunderstandings. Primera felt embarrassed due to the hotel incident. While sipping tea, Arsis brought up the purpose of Tenma's visit. He inquired if Tenma recalled someone named Giz, the individual who had caused a commotion when the boy was present, was engaged in a monster elimination quest. Following this account, the young man recalled him. With a smile, reminiscing about the event he proposed to share. We could discuss it further, but it's unnecessary. Arsis is already well informed about the circumstances. Due to Giz's actions and his attempts to conceal behind an aristocratic name, he will face trial. The boy was already pleased about this outcome. Unexpected situation arose, but Arsis needed to share some unwelcome news. His father, the baronet, disagrees with this and holds the belief. He was shocked by the assertion that Tenma, not his son, should be judged. The baronet's father feels his son has been unjustly attacked and insists he cannot be outdone by a mere child. The words of a coward are hard to accept. The young man lifted his gaze, understanding his own statement. He then lowered his head again and simply laughed. Arsis von Sange observed this. The astonished boy's expression turned as serious as it could. Given the baronet's opinion, the boy had no intention of hiding or backing down. Arsis remained quiet for a moment. After hearing the young man's words, a smirk emerged on his face as he gazed at his conversation partner. The father of the example is very astonished that the boy shows no fear regarding the Giza family's aristocratic status. Tenma advises Arsis not to assume that the young man has disdain for the aristocracy, while he himself contemplated the reality that he was directly involved. Familiar with the king directly. At that moment, Primera interrupted, noting that Giza hails from a noble lineage. Clearly, his family would prefer not to be portrayed unfavorably before others. Arsis von Sange remarks that his ducal authority encompasses the ability to denounce Tenma. Yet, in this situation, he cannot escape a surge of dissatisfaction. Nevertheless, as regrettable as it seems, he wields such influence. A single misstep can create quite a commotion. After pausing from rubbing his face, Arsis contemplates the incident while stroking his chin. Arsis lifted. He turned his head to the boy and resumed discussing the subject he initially brought up. The reason for summoning Tenma, Mr. A man visited Duke to inquire about the circumstances. He wanted to know if there were any updates. Arsis von Sange, with all his poise, stated that it was indeed Baronet Regil himself who chose to come to his estate. He's pleased to encounter him. The father of the disrespectful youths approached him. The man inquired of the Duke regarding the resolution of the matter involving the cunning lad. Arsis conveyed that, regrettably, their discussion took an unsatisfactory direction. The young man expressed his disagreement with the baronet's stance and wouldn't yield so readily. Giza's father is enraged. He fails to grasp the significance of this. For him, Tenma is merely a useless adventurer. Baronet Regil insults the Duke by suggesting he genuinely consider the boy's claims. Duke Arsis informs the guest that the boy has the guild's backing. He emphasizes the baronet's assurance in the validity of the choice. Is anyone truly prepared to confront the guild without a fallback plan? Furthermore, the baronet mistakenly assumed that Arsis von Sange would remain uninvolved. Baronet Regil sagged slightly and inquired of the Duke regarding the plan. Arsis, smiling, replied that a duel was imminent. In 10 days, champions from both factions would engage in combat. The victor will be justified. The Duke claims the boy will battle independently. Unrolling a sheet of paper, Arsis von Sange announces that the boy personally verified this by signing a formal oath. Baronet Regil examines the document. This is a legal oath, stating that on a specific day of a particular month, the victor will be established at the conclusion of the duel. Regardless of the duel's result, the vanquished individual forfeits the ability to contest the victor. Upon thorough review of the document, the baronet recognized that the Duke had meticulously planned every detail. He notifies, in this instance, he will take it upon himself to find a representative for his faction, ensuring he has the Duke's approval. The visitor states that since matters are settled, he requests Arsis to grant him leave. Meanwhile, he contemplates Tenma, reminding himself not to underestimate the influence of the nobility. Arsis von Sange watches the leaving Baronet Regil with a smile. Everything is unfolding as intended. He will ensure the boy reveals his full potential. A few days later, the city of Guns buzzed with excitement as people talked about the duel, convinced that the aristocrats are destined to prevail. The word of the duel circulated across the city, accompanied by whispers of the boy's immense power. After finishing the task, Tenma heads back to the hotel. Everything feels off to him. He can't figure out how the information got out since he hadn't shared it with anyone. The boy arrived at the guild headquarters in the city of Ganzhou, where numerous individuals are meticulously reviewing the assignment. Tenma notices a notice stating that a duel is scheduled this month between the Regil baronet's representative and himself, the adventurer Tenma. This news slightly irritates the young man. The instance of von Sange apologizes to the young man. My father mentioned it would be a captivating view. Thus, he requested that I display it. She never anticipated it would draw such significant attention. It appears that this is the efforts of the father of examples. He recalled the Duke's statement that if they battled in front of a crowd, the baronet would be unable to contest the boy's triumph in any manner. Tenma views the Duke as a pest who enjoys doing things his own way and finds amusement in it. The girl is concerned that something may have occurred. To the boy, regardless of perspective, these are nobles capable of ensuring victory for anyone. Tenma pays close attention to the commander of the Knight's Order, who advises him to exercise caution. The boy refers to her as his mistress, tightening his grip. His hand formed a fist. He assured her that he comprehended her concerns and vowed to exercise utmost caution. He thought to himself that he needed to tread carefully to avoid ruining everything. Then he heard his name being called. It was Nellie, Lily, and Millie who discovered that a friend was. They were set for a duel, and his friends vowed to back him up. Millie mentioned bringing extra food along. The young man requested they not fuss too much. Suddenly, Mrs. Flood approached from behind, resting her hand on his shoulder, causing Tenma to startle. She requests that they defeat them for the whole guild to demonstrate their full potential. The young man was taken aback by the unexpected arrival of a guild employee. The boy chuckles, noting that everyone has chosen to turn this into a significant occasion when he suddenly catches wind of who someone is wagering on. In this match, the first to defeat their rival wins. Will stay correct. The individual at the counter yells that a one-on-one battle will occur between the adventurer Tenma and the representative of the Regial Baronet. An unusual scene. The young man observes that individuals have begun wagering. One places a bet of 100 gold pieces on the guild, while another bets on the man from the large hole. Only a handful of days remain until the showdown between Tenma and Baronet Regal's representative. On the eve of the duel, the boy observes intently. The board displays the betting odds. Tenma at 5-8 and Baronet at 1-1. One individual comments that betting with these odds is pointless. Another suggests placing a bet on Tenma, while someone warns it will lead to losses. The young man reflects on his own odds. In an instant, he realized this was a perfect chance to make some extra cash. It was an excellent idea. The boy inquired with the man at the counter if he could place the money on himself. The man confirmed it was allowed, but attacking the opponent was off-limits. Tenma wagered an entire bag with him, of 10,000 gold wagering on himself. Those supporting him were taken aback by this move. They started to murmur among themselves, recognizing that the adventurer had placed a bet on his own success. Many believed he lacked friends willing to do such a thing for him. The crowd felt apologies for him, grabbing the paper regarding the wager. The boy overhears someone remarking that he is attempting to uplift his spirits with this bet, fully aware of his impending loss. Others view him as hopeless and want to wager on the boy out of sympathy. As he left the counter, a downcast young man was approached by a guy who wished him luck, genuinely rooting for him. Bets of 100 and 200 gold pieces are being placed on Tenma. The man by the blackboard remarks that the circumstances have gotten somewhat better. This does not satisfy the boy. The betting odds have shifted. Currently, Tenma stands at 5 feet 7 inches, while the baronet measures 1 foot 2 inches. Strolling through the forest paths, the young man mutters that he feels like a fool. As he walks past the bushes, he catches sight of a silhouette, remaining silent about it. Noisy yet evaluating it visually. The boy determined that he was being observed. Clearly, this is a mercenary of Baronet Regal. Tenma arrived at the headquarters of the Knightly Order. He had missed it. Primera von Sang encounters her friend in a friendly manner. He has come to express his gratitude for her assistance. In appreciation, the boy wishes to treat everyone to donuts, delicacies from a far-off land. Shiramaru emerges from the bag once more. The young man states that, due to her, Fenrir is radiating joy. Primera, chuckling, mentions that she will assist him with the washing again next time, almost implying she will snuggle with him once more. Primera von Sang gazes at the young man and suggests that since he's here, they might as well enjoy some tea together. They were just about to pause. The girl realized the boy had something different on his mind. With an earnest smile, Primera expressed his willingness to hear from his young companion. The boy felt a bit taken aback by the warmth shown by the commander of the Knightly Order. He shared his thoughts. Heard that someone was watching him. The young man believes these are the baronet's wards. This is a troubling indication. Certainly not good for public safety. The girl will assign a guard to Tenma. The boy expressed his gratitude. Yet that was in line with his expectations, coming from the leader of a nighttime unit. She mentioned that she would ensure the young man's safety. He would remain here temporarily. Hesitant, the young man consented, but believed he was exaggerating this situation. Subordinates approached the commander to discuss various messages. For the assignments planned for today, Tenma interjected into the discussion, expressing his willingness to assist, convinced there was a task for him. It's uncomfortable for a young man to remain idle. The girl had been tidying up the armory since the early hours. Tenma pointed out that it was already evening. Primera admits there are no results and with embarrassment, confesses her cleaning skills are poor. The boy inspects all the weapons in the warehouse. They appear lavish and costly. The girl mentioned that primarily decommissioned swords and blades are kept in this area. Turning back, the young man inquired about the decommissioned swords, puzzled about the reasons for their decommissioning. Primra, radiating happiness, she claims the sword is dulled. Noticing a minor flaw on the blade, Tenma exclaims, inquiring if the girl is of noble birth. The sword remains functional, making it feel like a loss to him. Primra confidently replies that, indeed, she is an aristocrat. The boy faces her and states that the sword can be honed since it isn't broken at all. He is puzzled by the girl's actions with her sword. She inquires about the meaning of sharpening. However, the young man is outraged by this inquiry. The boy believes there are also spenders in the world. He continually insists that this is a significant waste. However, the girl brightens and responds that Tenma is very knowledgeable. Footsteps echoed from behind. They were accompanied by Commander Santos, Simon, Ida, and General Allen of the Knightly Order. A man clad in heavy armor expressed his apologies for any distraction. The girl, who had been pricked like a needle, leaped up and made a respectful, welcoming gesture. Honored General Allen. She inquired about their activities for the day. They were taking a typical detour, focusing on the boy. Allen states that it was said that an adventurer came to town, causing quite a stir as he extended his hand for a handshake. The general mentions he has heard much about him. The townsfolk believe the young man is certain of his success. The man notes that he has accomplished a great deal for someone so young, from neutralizing the Bonza group to eliminating a massive threat. The quantity of ogres and crocodile snakes. The sole aspect the boy underestimated, in the general's view, was the impending confrontation with the aristocracy. Standing apart from the entire group, Ada, the leader of the third squad, appears quite anxious and dejected. The prevailing notion was that something was amiss with her, yet all was well. The young man focused on her. General Allen remarks that Tenma has not selected the ideal rival for himself. As an experienced professional, he wishes to convey just one message. For aristocrats, preserving their family's honor is paramount, and many are prepared to make significant sacrifices for it. Regrettably for the boy, his rival embodies this mindset. The young man anticipated no different outcome. In simpler terms, General Allen clarifies, Baronet Regil will do whatever it takes to eliminate the boy. He learned that the nobleman had employed a lowly adventurer. He urges the young man to surrender immediately if he abruptly senses peril. The chivalric order would disapprove of losing such a potential adventurer. Lies begin to surface. In his own words, Simon, the commander of the third squad, asks Santos, the commander of the first squad, for his thoughts on the boy. Santos responds that Tenma is decent but still just a child. Even considering his accomplishments, the boy falls short of their status. The leaders of the Knightly Order think it would be more prudent to forego this duel. They opted to seek their general's perspective. Allen states that while he counseled the boy to surrender, sensing that the young man conceals his true power. One commander remarks that if this is true, it will be fascinating to observe his fighting skills. One man claims that the boy is overvalued by all. Ada agrees with the general, stating that Tenma will persist in the duel without surrendering. The commanders are puzzled by the source of her unwavering confidence. In the adventurer, her curiosity was piqued. Recently, she spotted him in the city. Ada believed he didn't recognize her due to her nighttime look. The moment he entered her sight, she instantly knew it was him. Ada had caught wind of the rumors surrounding him. Regarding the boy, rumors circulated throughout the city about a child who emerged as a skilled adventurer. Unable to suppress her curiosity, she resolved to investigate. Ada cast a brief, intense look at him, imbued with a sense of lethal intent. Should he see her, the rumors would hold validity. In such a scenario, he ought to reciprocate her gaze. One commander inquired about the story's progression. The girl replied that the boy acknowledged her, yet instead of mirroring her look, he offered a courteous greeting. Ada mentions that in a moment he revealed his true power. Tenma possesses great strength, and the girl proposes he might be the mightiest of the Night Order. Those who are truly strong tend to be silent. Today, the strongest duelist will be decided. It was fight day, between Tenma and the representative of the noble baronet. Slowly, spectators gather at the site of the duel. The event is set to be memorable, as Arsis von Sanga assured. The Nico sisters arrive to cheer for their friend. The boy surveys the arena, filled with diverse individuals from everywhere. The crowd assembled. Millie, Lily, and Nellie can be seen at the stands, enthusiastically urging Tenma to notice them. The young man had learned that this stadium accommodates 5,000 spectators. But from a distance, it appears that the entire city of guns has assembled for this showdown, as everything is filled to capacity. Every resident has emerged from their hiding places. The stadium hums with energy, as if animated. Adventure Tenmu was requested to step into the center. There was a man present with a table beside him. The boy ascended the steps to the center. The man offered him a document and requested his signature. After reading it beforehand, the young man scrawled with a pen on the paper, then lifted his gaze to identify the person before him. It was a young man who began yawning from sheer boredom. Ceasing to sign the document, Tenma stood tall and acknowledged Max Sen, inquiring why he had taken on the role of a notary. The man appeared indifferent. As always, Max Belkiap, 41, Terran. He leads a guild branch and holds the status of a ranked adventurer. The guild leader, gathering signatures from both parties, called for the next individual to approach Baronet Rigel at the center. The boy observed that the man was accompanied by a large crowd trailing behind him. Of men and women, Tenma observes it quietly. Understanding that this gathering has a purpose, Max Belkiap feels slightly anxious due to the crowd accompanying the baronet. The leader of the guild branch requests the second representative to sign the documents similarly. Once the signatures are gathered, Max consolidates everything. The papers. He faced the baronet and notified him that the game was imminent. Thus, his guard needed to exit the stadium. In his mind, Max reflects on this nobleman. A nuisance. With a mischievous smile, Baronet Rigel claims that these are not his sentinels. He instructed Max to examine the match limitations more thoroughly. It has not been explicitly stated that, during the clash, a representative emerges from each faction. Essentially, he implies that they are the delegates of the Regila team. The boy remains quiet, glances at the baronet and the figures in dark robes. Everything seems dubious. Yet Geis, the one who stirred the trouble, grins and taunts his foe with. The baronet proclaimed that they represented Rigel, prompting all the combatants to discard their black robes simultaneously. Among them were Joshua, Makina, Remy, Rira, Sean, Ake, and Monica. They all stand against Tenma. Max chuckles, remarking that Baronet Rigel has caused chaos once more. The young man reassures him, stating that all is well. Observing the crowd prepared to kill the boy, Tenma responds, indicating he anticipated such a reaction. He believes their prank doesn't violate any rules. The boy, grinning, requests to commence the fight. Max Belkiap recognized the youth's demeanor. His smile turned into a scowl. As the battle's leader, he remained on the sidelines. Proclaims to all that the battle between Tenma and Baronet Rigel is set to commence. The conceited noble faces the young man, declaring that he will make him regret showing disrespect towards the aristocracy. He barely gets to finish as a gust of wind interrupts. Hurried by him as a scream echoed from behind. Tenma announced loudly that the first one was prepared. The audience was taken aback, and murmurs started to be heard throughout the stadium. The young man effortlessly drove one of his rivals against the wall. The boy gazes at the baronet with a self-assured expression. He is enraged by such a display. Tenma initiates the subsequent strike. An electric charge surges through his. The furious noble commanded his henchmen to strike. All combatants charged simultaneously. Makina, Rami and Rira, Sean, Ache, and Monica surged into the fray. They assaulted Tenma from every direction, leaving no opportunity for him to flee. While swinging his fists and swords, the boy managed to fend off one attacker, landing a strike on the baronet. The aristocrat is confused by the actions of the hired hands and commands that the young man be consumed by fire magic. The man remarks that it's merely a spirited youth. The girls unite their strength for a formidable assault. They unleashed a strong explosion towards the young man. Millie, Lily, and Nellie felt deep concern for their friend. Meanwhile, the baronet and his son smirked wickedly, expecting an effortless win, but the swirling dust revealed the boy. He remained unscathed. There were enormous arms envelop him. The audience is abuzz with astonishment. Tenma fashioned the golem's arm using a mystical zombie dragon core. Countering magic of this magnitude posed no challenge. He winked and lifted his index finger. The young man mentions that Golem's hand can serve purposes beyond just defense. All the combatants looked upwards. Towering above them were the tightly closed hands of a golem ready to crush them. A tremendous blast occurred. The crowd was startled, anxious about the aristocrat and the others present. The men nearly wept. The dust settled. A depression emerged in the middle of the arena. Everyone, the baronet included, sat on the ground, having been defeated. Hope of existence. The boy, observing them, reflects that he could have annihilated them all with that strike, yet chose to hold back. He was not to be underestimated. All of Baronet Regil's henchmen fled, labeling Tenma a monster. He enticed them with his stories. A quick cash. They refused to come down here. Currently, only a handful of individuals remain in the arena. The baronet is enraged, and the guys are in a frenzy. Only one remains. He turned his head and spotted a man. The lead performer steps onto the stage. Tenma realized he was the one being observed. The man raised his hands, declaring their surrender. He informs the young man who, throughout the observation, concealed himself more skillfully in blind spots than his predecessors. He was aware that Tenma would detect it. As he approached the boy, the man declared he wouldn't confront him directly. The young man realized he didn't desire that outcome. Contemplating this, the man felt an urge to attempt it, yet no, he strolls by the boy, offering him good wishes. Turning to the baronet, the young man expresses that he is the last one remaining, nearly solitary. Tenma offered should he wish to look after his son too. The boy inquired of his last adversary what actions he would take. Guise is fearful, and the baronet, grinding his teeth in frustration, he admits defeat. The host of this thrilling bout announces Tenma as the match's victor. It was a decisive win. Mrs. Flut lifts a cup in honor of Tenma-san's achievement. Triumph. Everyone joyfully collided with one another, followed by drinks. The crowd praised the adventurer for his success. Observing the large gathering, Tenma shifted his gaze. He turned his head the other way and spotted his father. He mentions that the boy enjoys considerable popularity. The young man chuckles, stating that everyone merely wanted to cheer. The attractive man responds with a smile, saying that there's no reason for modesty. He explains to the young man that everyone celebrates his success as if it were their own, demonstrating their affection for him. He wants Tenma to grasp this sentiment. Additionally, those who placed bets on the young man share in the joy, like Mrs. Flut and Max Belkiap, who chuckle together in private. As he departs, his father declares that today's feast is on him. The boy wishes to protest, but the man reveals a ticket for a bed worth 100,000 gold. Exhaling, Tenma relished the moment. A girl approached him offering a refill. She was the one kidnapped by Banza and his crew. The young man expressed his gratitude to Senna-san, learning that she was assisting her father. The girl expresses her gratitude one last time. Without the boy, things could have turned out poorly. Senna-san reassures her that everything is okay now, and even she felt hopeful to carry on with her life. The town's residents, with their compassion, rescued her. Tenma relates to the girl. This is precisely why he remained in the town. Senna-san looks after the other visitors. The Nico sisters observed the completed supplement. Prime Raven Sang approached the young man, offering his congratulations on his triumph. She remarked it was a magnificent view. She also told me about the baronet and the men. They challenged the notary, culminating in a public duel witnessed by all. Through their nefarious deeds, they tarnished the reputation of the aristocracy. The baronet lost his title and his assets were seized. They will also face enslavement. He believes they warrant a harsher penalty. The young man remained silent about them, yet another individual interrupted their discussion, asserting that he was being honest. Typically, the death penalty is applied for these crimes. The individual who exited the arena mentioned that the baronet and others stayed behind, surviving due to the Duke's generosity and the boy's lack of objections. Prime RA, drawing her sword, exclaims that this individual belongs to the regular squad, but he attempts to halt her, requesting that she hears him out first. It was revealed that the man was a spy. He had been a subordinate of Duke Sang from the start. The man was meant to act as an informant, infiltrating the enemy's ranks. The girl is furious her father kept this from her, while Tenma observes the man. This is stale. He's 29 years old. Ranks, scout, killer, quite strong. The boy claims he's more complex than he appears. Stale laughs and refuses, stating that in a straightforward manner. In a one-on-one confrontation, he is certainly not youthful. Tenma inquired about taking advantage of vulnerabilities. The man responded that it's a different aspect to consider, showing slight tension. The Nico sisters ambushed the boy from behind, yelling that Tenma would triumph regardless, as he is more powerful than any adversary. They inquired about the young man's future aspirations. The girls were eager to organize another party. Tenma remained quiet for a moment. Sitting in a chair, he expressed his apologies to everyone. He had intended to share this sooner, but was unable to decide what to do. The young man mentioned he would depart from the city soon. Upon hearing this, the patrons set their mugs aside. The Nico sisters felt anxious, confused about Tenma's choice to leave them behind. Everyone wants to accompany him. The girls consent to everything. Their father held them firmly to soothe them. Mrs. L. Flut observed that the young man had made this decision quite some time ago and inquired about the motive behind it. The boy replied that he intended to assault the dungeon. The example of Vaughn resonated, leaving the Nico sisters in disbelief. The father questioned why he felt the need for this. Clenching her fist, Tenma declares that the dungeon represents a man's romance, with everyone chasing after it. The sisters are both shocked and furious. Mrs. Flut finds this explanation unpersuasive. The father dismisses it as absurd. The young man had been contemplating the possibility of remaining in this town, having considered it earnestly on numerous occasions. Tenma reached the gun's city library. He looked at the shelves. Surrounded by stacks of books, he selected a hefty tome to examine. It details labyrinths and subterranean mazes. The underground maze is situated near a potent concentration of magical energy. The core of the dungeon. A basic maze lacks a core. It exists in areas where magic gathers. After examining all the information, the young man understood that the forest is part of to one of these creatures. He has a task he is determined to complete. The boy considers that maybe assaulting the dungeon is an essential requirement. Tenma aims to uncover the enigma of the ancient forest that assaulted the Kukuri village. Mrs. Flut observed that the young man was departing. Saramaru is cajoling beside her. The Nico sisters clung to Tenma, pleading with her not to leave. They implored him with their gazes, insisting that he return. The girls would be anticipating his arrival. Him and Millie will be anticipating his proposal. Tenma recalled something and left his friend's recipes for donuts and pudding. The boy requested his father to occasionally treat the others. The young man expressed his gratitude to Mrs. Flut for all her help. He attributes his transformation into a true adventurer solely to the Guns Guild, according to the employee. Everyone is supporting him, and she requests that they be contacted if anything occurs. Those who gathered to bid farewell to Tenma expressed their unwavering support and eagerness to welcome him back whenever he returns. This deeply moved the boy. He shed a tear, bidding farewell to all. The young man made his way to the headquarters of the Knightly Order of Kim Van Sang. Tenma mentions that he is departing the city and arrived to bid farewell to her. She requests that he remain for a while longer. The young man felt awkward about this reaction. Prima asks to keep Siramara, assuring him she will look after him. The commander is in charge and the general approaches them. Expressing regret for the interruption, the general mentions that they have been anticipating his arrival. Tenma. He expressed gratitude for their willingness to join him. A charming man embraces Siramara, while Ada mentions that Prima appreciates him as well. The young man managed to remove an undesirable aristocrat, and they all convey their thanks to him due to their considerable suffering with the baronet. Placing his hand on the boy's shoulder, the general states that this concludes the official matter. The squad has a favor to ask before he departs the city. Drawing their swords, the general declares their strong desire to challenge Tenma to a duel. They were all motivated by the brave display in the arena. The boy is taken aback, yet one of the commanders remarks that it is nothing extraordinary. Tossing a wooden sword to the youth, he requested that he treat it as a practice match. Taking hold of a stick, Tenma cautioned everyone as a precaution. If he was going to fight, it would be genuine. The commanders are seated. No forces remain. One of them remarks that the boy possesses genuine talent, and they are nowhere near that skill level. They observe Tenma battling on even ground. With the general, they fiercely parry and strike at one another, as though engaged in a duel for their very lives. They ceased combat. The general states that events unfolded as he anticipated. The boy mentioned he was nearly victorious. With a grin on his face, the man expresses that it was foolish to think the young man could be bested in fencing. Observing his subordinate knights, General Allen proposes another candidate to challenge. The boy became tense afterward. Allen looked at Ada, suggesting she duel Tenma, but she chose to decline his offer. Prime Raven, saying extended her hand, eager to see if the young man still had energy. The girl is resolute in her aim to triumph one final time. This is the ultimate duel. Tenma regrets departing, as many fascinating events have occurred here. The locals are genuinely kind. This town offers a delightful atmosphere. That's the reason the boy must leave. The more time he spends here, the less resolute he becomes. Prime Raven, defeated in a duel by a young man, sat on the ground. She expressed her gratitude. Tenma complimented her for her excellent performance, but mentioned that incorporating feints would be beneficial. He clarified that her strikes were somewhat repetitive. Prime Raven behaves in line with her personality, being candid and direct, making her easy to understand. Defeat. He appreciates that quality in her. Prime Raven felt quite embarrassed by her statement. The girl faced the boy, expressing her desire to challenge him once more in the future. Taking his, with hands outstretched, she insists he must return to guns without exception. The cart's wheels creak. Tenmi is astonished to experience this sensation. He has a destination to return to, the capital of the Sajai dungeon. The girl presents the boy with a guild card. Tenma holds the rank of sea adventurer. She also requests permission to enter. She observed that the traveler appeared utterly exhausted. Inquiring about his situation, Tenma reassured her that all was well, but much had transpired during the journey. Mrs. Flut's map proved inaccurate, and Slaylin was carried off by the river. A swarm of killer bees was pursuing them in the woods along with thieves. The boy has endured much lately and is alert once more. He made it through, yet the girl questions whether the adventurer assured him everything was fine. She mentioned he could reach out to the dungeon reception for information. Tenma expressed his gratitude and continued walking, noticing that Sajai had now arrived in the dungeon's capital. The ambience differs from Gunsta, and the crowd is larger here. As the young man continued walking, he spotted the dungeon entrance. A guard stood at the door, and after presenting his credentials, with the papers in hand, the boy was granted entry into the dungeon's reception area. A blackboard is mounted on the wall. The young man is astonished that a group can assemble here and various other matters. He glanced at the girl. Tenma tells me that he wished to access the dungeon. The girl understood it was his initial visit. She informed him that he must first pay an entrance fee of 1,000 gold, and subsequently review and sign the user agreement. The organization disclaims responsibility for any incidents occurring within the dungeon. Advance notification to the administration is required if the group is made up of 10 or more individuals. Once all the documents are signed, the girl suggests the young man take the card she displayed for a dungeon raid. She clarifies to Tenma that this unique map enables unrestricted movement throughout the dungeon. Tenma became quite flustered upon hearing this. The staff member mentions that there exists a specific area within the dungeon, with an opening to the exterior. This card has the ability to recall the location from which the adventurer originated, then swiftly transport the individual from the way into the dungeon to that location. This is quite handy, but it likely comes with a hefty price. The card is priced at 100,000 gold. Placing the money bag on the table, the boy insisted. The card. The girl expressed her gratitude for the transaction. She mentioned that the formalities were complete and pointed towards the dungeon's entrance. It was accessible at any moment. Filled with excitement, Tenma wished to enter immediately, but felt unprepared. Can pose risks. Initially, he intends to visit the local guild to gather information. Following the capital's map, the boy located the Seiji Guild's headquarters. The structure is significantly larger than that of the gun's headquarters. Someone shouted to Tegma from behind. Local drunks claimed there was no room for children here and urged him to leave. Tenma mocked them. He was mistaken. Such characters exist everywhere. The drunks seized him by the shoulder, demanding to know what he found so amusing. Drawing his knife and pressing it against the drunkard's throat, the boy, undeterred by the adversaries, urges the men to reconsider their actions promptly. The street is filled with commotion. Numerous onlookers glance back to witness the unfolding scene. The intoxicated individuals are startled. Tenma instructs them to vanish while they are intact. The man who seized the young man by the shoulder felt intimidated by his gaze. Although they appeared to have approached the boy, they were beginning to question if he was indeed a child. Tenma mocks them, remarking that it's unwise to overindulge in alcohol. The three inebriates walked away. At a table near the guild headquarters, two individuals observed the young man, impressed by him. When Tenma reached the reception, he requested details regarding the dungeon. The girl informed him that a map was available up to the 10th level. Additionally, there is data regarding the magical beings inhabiting the dungeon. The young man must learn all he can, so he requested the accessible information. He received a slim, holding a hefty book in his hands. Tenma observed that everything was detailed thoroughly. As anticipated, the lower the level, the more powerful the monster. There won't be any issues until the 10th level, so the boy learned everything. Now he must locate a place to rest before reaching it. Gets dark. The hotels indicate they are fully booked. The boy recalled that this city is a favored spot for explorers. He reassures himself, believing that numerous hotels exist, so there's no need for concern. In one location, they claim that every room is taken or that everything is reserved a month ahead. The young man succeeded in accessing a hotel meant exclusively for women. This is beginning to frustrate Tenma. He observes another hotel, pleading for a spot to be discovered here. He was mistaken. It was a hotel for couples who had already noticed an attractive guy for themselves, vowing to secure a space in the room. Perched on a rooftop, the young man comes to the conclusion that every hotel is fully booked. The final accommodations are gone. With no rooms available, Tenma contemplates the necessity of pitching a tent. A girl appears, adding to his thoughts. Collided with the man's back. He told her she had startled him. The girl apologized and inquired if everything was all right. Tenma admitted it was his mistake. She mentioned her awkwardness, and the guy was already assisting her. He attempted to rationalize the situation by contemplating rather than observing his surroundings. The girl expressed her gratitude somewhat bashfully. Suddenly there was a furious yell erupted from the men. They identified Tenma and recalled his lack of respect towards them. The men were not indifferent and attempted to summon him. He was oblivious to their intentions and observed that there were more of them. The man was also attempting to create it evident that they wouldn't simply overlook him. He shoved the girl and commanded her to go. Tenma averted his gaze. The large man remarked that the guy was overly arrogant, while he himself was an adventurer of the C rank. The man attempted to insult the guy, but Tenma remained unfazed. The guy took a seat beside the girl, inquiring if she was all right. She mentioned that she was in pain. The man was seething with anger and continued to speak to. Tenma insisted on honoring his elders. The large individual had begun to swing. Out of nowhere, a man showed up who, the adventurer was immobilized, caught off guard. The man who emerged instructed him to halt. Tenma focused on the figure and recognized Jin Jido, who affirmed the statement, and stated that he would handle it later. If not, he would resort to force. The adventurer yelled. All the men were bound, and Jin surveyed his efforts. Tenma chose not to delay and examined the man who emerged. This was Jin Jido, 32 years old, holds the title of honorary baronet and is a seasoned adventurer. He realized that the fighter was more powerful than his father had ever been. He dismissed the thought as he wasn't in the right mindset. The girl was indicating her knee, which was scraped. Tenma employed his healing magic, and the injury mended swiftly. The girl was astonished. The guy questioned whether his knee still ached, to which she responded that all was well and expressed her gratitude. Jin was celebrated. The girl was frustrated that he was loitering here since they were searching for him everywhere. The man expressed regret, and Tenma resumed observing everyone. They belonged to the guild. Manus, 28, a top-tier adventurer, occasionally managed to be on time. Garrod, 30, a wolf warrior, also held a first-class status. Lena, 30, an adventurer, was also requested to arrive at the meeting spot punctually. Novice, the daughter of a viscount. It's clear that Jin consistently behaves this way. Tenma, observing everyone at that moment, recognized that they were all top-tier adventurers and an exceptional team. The guy was simply referred to by name. He couldn't grasp how they were aware of him. Lena happily responded that their knowledge stemmed from him being the example Chan's guy. The gossip circulated rapidly. Tenma was startled and exclaimed in a frightened tone that he wasn't her boyfriend. Their relationship didn't fit that description. Everyone was taken aback. The guy inquired about it. They would be astonished if they were familiar with her. He heard that they recognized everyone in the Gunjo Knightly Order and had recently attended, witnessing his duel. Tenma recalled that he hadn't expressed his gratitude for the assistance and lowered his head to do so. Everyone started introducing themselves and mentioned that if any issues arose, they should reach out them since they would remain in this city. Jin reflected on not assisting Tenma, but rather aiding those men. Ultimately, if he hadn't stepped in, they would never have found the courage to stand up. Manus pondered about his strength, and Jin believed that perhaps someone even stronger than him existed. Everyone was shocked. Ultimately, in Gunjo, he fought without using his full power. He sensed no strong aura. A girl named Amy expressed her gratitude to Tenma for accompanying her. The man believed he was responsible for her predicament, sought her forgiveness, and also had a question he wanted to pose to her. He sought accommodation and wanted to confirm with Amy if he was close by. He couldn't locate it. Amy inquired once more, stating that her residence was a hotel. Tenma did not pay attention. The girl mentioned she would provide details about the room. The guy was already hoping for a room since this was his final opportunity. So much had transpired today, and all he desired was to spend the night indoors. He grew serious the moment Amy's head came into view. A room was available at the hotel and he could check in. He expressed gratitude for everything, as nothing could be better.